Israel says its troops are moving towards the heart of Gaza City. That's after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu suggested a longer-term role for his forces in the besieged territory.
Who should govern Gaza when this is over?
Those who don't want to continue the way of Hamas. It certainly is not. I think Israel will, for an indefinite period, will have the overall security responsibility, because we've seen what happens when we don't have it. When we don't have that security responsibility, what we have is the eruption of Hamas terror on a scale that we couldn't imagine.
Bloomberg's Nick Wadhams, who leads our U.S. national security team, joins us now. And Nick, any idea at this point what indefinite control of Gaza would actually look like?
Nothing beyond what Prime Minister Netanyahu said there, but I mean, this is no doubt sending a chill through U.S. officials, because this is exactly the situation they do not want to have, which would be to have Israel have an extended oversight role in Gaza. I mean, this was a problem. Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2006 precisely because Israeli control of the territory just was not really tenable. So now we seem to be repeating that situation. They have put so much focus on trying to figure out what comes next for Gaza, and really the last thing they want is extended Israeli control over that territory without having any real end date or sense for what that might look like.
Nick, this was sort of one of the big questions from the very beginning of this conflict, right? What is the end game here? What does that look like going forward? And of course, we're still in the thick of the conflict. In the meantime, are we seeing more progress or discussion about this idea of humanitarian pauses?
Well, there is a little bit of what Prime Minister Netanyahu said in that interview. We got a couple more excerpts suggesting that Israel would be willing to look at very, very narrow pauses, so like literally for minutes or hours to allow humanitarian aid to go in, but certainly nothing like what the U.S. has been pressing for, sort of slightly more extended, several hour-long pauses. I mean, obviously, with the big issue here, what Prime Minister Netanyahu and the U.S. are also rejecting, is the idea of a longer-term ceasefire that's really being sought in the Arab world. And that is just something that Israel says is not going to happen, because Israeli officials believe it would only give Hamas time to regroup and repel attacks from Israeli forces.
And of course, we continue to see clashes in Israel's borders, including with Lebanon. What's the latest?
Well, we know at this point that Israel has said it's basically encircled Gaza City, so its forces are pressing in from the north and the south. So we are really at a crucial moment here. Israel launched the ground invasion about a week ago, and now we have a sense that it is really coming in on what it believes is the senior Hamas military leadership in Gaza City, and that's another reason why they really do not want to let up, because they believe they are on the cusp of a major change in the situation on the ground. Of course, there are still many civilians in the Gaza Strip, in the northern part of the Strip, and, you know, there's a growing concern about the civilian casualties that have resulted from this relentless ground invasion by Israeli forces.